The bold and the beautiful. New Year's Eve murder mystery, Luna's secrets unraveled. The night the city held its breath. The New Year's Eve fireworks had barely faded from the Los Angeles skyline when everything changed. Deputy Chief Baker stood motionless in the narrow alley behind El Giardino, the upscale Italian restaurant where memories of better days seemed to linger like the ghost of a forgotten life. The pyrotechnics that had illuminated the city just minutes before now seemed like a cruel reminder that joy and darkness could exist in the same moment. But Baker's mind wasn't on celebrations anymore. His attention was fixated on the body before him, a man, middle-aged, brutally murdered and abandoned like yesterday's garbage in this shadowy back passage. The victim's wound was severe, unmistakably fatal. The kind of injury that spelled out immediate death with chilling certainty. Under normal circumstances, this would be another tragic case file to add to the growing stack on Baker's desk. But as the LAPD's most seasoned detective ran a methodical examination of the body, his fingers froze when he reached into the victim's jacket pocket. There, nestled among the personal effects, was something that made his blood run cold, a delicate engagement ring. Unmistakably elegant, unmistakably unique. The craftsmanship was exquisite, the kind of ring that would only belong to someone special, someone memorable. Baker's jaw clenched. He knew that ring. Every officer in Los Angeles knew about Luna Nozawa's engagement ring, the one that had been lost months ago when she supposedly died in that horrific car accident. The case had been closed, the investigation wrapped up, the evidence preserved in the LAPD's archives with a neat conclusion. Luna Nozawa, victim of tragic circumstances, taken from this world by an unfortunate combination of fate and bad luck. But nothing about this moment felt coincidental. A chilling realization. Baker's mind raced through the possibilities, each one more disturbing than the last. For weeks, the entire city, the Forrester family, the Spencer family, Lee Finnegan, everyone involved in Luna's tragic narrative had accepted her death as fact. The coroner's report had been filed. A memorial service had been held. Grief had been processed. And yet, here was undeniable evidence that suggested something far more sinister had transpired. The ring wasn't just any ring. It was the symbol of Luna's connection to Will Spencer, the physical manifestation of promises made in better times. As Baker carefully placed the evidence into a transparent bag, his detective's instinct screamed the same conclusion. Luna Nozawa wasn't dead. The woman found in that burning wreckage months ago had not been Luna. Someone else had perished in that accident, and Luna, cunning, dangerous, unpredictable Luna, had disappeared into the shadows. She had faked her own death, orchestrated an elaborate deception, and somehow survived in hiding while the people closest to her mourned what they believed was her final exit from their lives. The implications were staggering. If Luna was alive, then every piece of closure the Forrester and Spencer families had found was an illusion. Every memory they'd processed, every tear they'd shed, every decision they'd made with the assumption of her death, all of it was based on a lie. But more troubling than the deception itself was the question that cut through the New Year's Eve revelry with the precision of a blade. If Luna was alive and hiding, then who was the man lying dead in this alley? And more importantly, what had Luna done to ensure her disappearance remained complete? The unsettling truth spreads. Baker knew he had to move fast. He reached for his phone and made the calls that would set the entire investigation in motion, not just for this murder, but for the unraveling of everything that had been accepted as truth over the past weeks. First came the Spencer family notification, delivered with the grave tone that only accompanied cases of this magnitude. Bill Spencer's voice crackled over the line, shifting from sleepy confusion to urgent alarm when Baker mentioned the engagement ring. Katie Logan, already a nervous woman when it came to Luna, would feel this news like a physical blow to her chest. Then came the call to the Forrester residence. Rich's voice was sharp when he heard the news. Steffi, still recovering from everything Luna had put her through, would need to be informed carefully. But the most crucial call came to Lee Finnegan's office. Baker needed answers, and he had a strong suspicion that Luna's aunt and her grandmother knew more than she had been telling. Lee's reaction was telling. A long silence, followed by the careful words of someone choosing their next statement with extreme caution. Within hours, the Spencer and Forrester families found themselves called to the LAPD precinct, their New Year's Eve celebrations abandoned in the face of this shocking revelation. The mood that gathered in the interrogation rooms and waiting areas was one of confusion mixed with dawning horror. It became clear that this wasn't just about a random murder in an alley. This was about deception on a scale that would rewrite everything anyone believed about what had transpired. The domino effect begins. Baker's announcement that Luna was alive sent shockwaves through every relationship that had been built on the foundation of her supposed death. Will Spencer, who had been slowly trying to move forward with his life, faced the devastating reality that the mother of his child was not only alive, but also quite possibly a murderer. The man in that alley had been connected to something. Perhaps he had discovered Luna's secret. Perhaps he had threatened her. Or perhaps he had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time and paid the ultimate price for it. For Bill Spencer, the revelation confirmed his darkest fears. He had helped Luna escape prison. He had harbored her despite knowing the danger she posed. Now, not only was she alive, but she had committed another murder while under his care, while he was supposed to be her benefactor and guide. The guilt would be immense, the self-recrimination severe. Katie's protective instincts would kick into overdrive. This confirmed that Luna was as dangerous as everyone had feared. And that will needed protection from the woman who had already caused so much destruction in their family. Steffi Forrester would arrive back in Los Angeles to learn that the woman she had been haunted by, the one who had terrorized her, kidnapped her brother, and threatened her family's very existence, had not been eradicated by fate. Instead, Luna had outsmarted everyone. The thought would be both terrifying and infuriating. For months, Steffi had carried the weight of Luna's actions, the trauma of captivity, the fear that Luna would return. Now, facing the reality that Luna had never actually left, that she had been present in the city, alive and potentially active, would cut deeper than any physical wound. The question that haunts everyone. But the most pressing mystery wasn't just whether Luna was alive. It was far more complex and troubling. Where was she now? With her identity exposed and her whereabouts unknown, Luna represented an active threat to everyone in Los Angeles who had crossed her. She was pregnant, alone, hunted by law enforcement, and most importantly, desperate. A desperate Luna was a dangerous Luna. The victim in the alley became the focal point of the investigation. Baker and his team worked through the night, running fingerprints, checking databases, conducting interviews. They discovered that the dead man had connections to several underground operations in the city, smuggling networks, forged document operations, identity theft rings. The kind of people who didn't ask questions and could make someone disappear if the price was right. The connection raised a terrifying possibility. Luna hadn't just faked her death through accident. She had orchestrated it with professional help. She had paid someone to ensure her vanishing was complete. And then, for reasons yet to be determined, something had gone wrong. Perhaps the man in the alley had demanded more money. Perhaps he had threatened to expose Luna's location. Perhaps he had discovered she was pregnant and saw an opportunity for blackmail. Whatever the cause, Luna had eliminated him violently, efficiently, and with the kind of cold calculation that demonstrated she had lost none of her murderous instincts during her time in hiding. The clock starts ticking. As the calendar officially changed and 2025 began its second hour, the entire investigation shifted from cold case closure to urgent manhunt. Baker's face was grim as he coordinated with his officers, expanding the search radius, issuing internal alerts, and beginning the process of warning families about Luna's likely reemergence. The engagement ring, now logged as evidence, served as a haunting reminder that Luna still carried symbols of the life she had lost, symbols of will and the future she claimed she wanted. But where could she go? Luna had limited resources, limited friends, and a growing list of people who wanted her dead or imprisoned. The Forrester family wanted justice. The Spencer family wanted protection. Even Sheila, her own grandmother, had expressed reservations about Luna's continued freedom. There was literally nowhere in Los Angeles where Luna could hide for long. Every hotel, every safe house, every possible refuge would soon be flooding with police descriptions. Unless, of course, Luna hadn't hidden alone. Unless someone else was helping her, someone with resources, connections, and a reason to want Luna alive and free. A family under siege. Back at the Forrester mansion, the New Year's celebration that had been planned with such optimism was shattered. Rich held Brooke close, but his mind was already racing with the practical concerns of managing the company while dealing with this crisis. The last thing Forrester Creations needed was another scandal involving the Nozawa family. Eric made calls to his legal team. Steffi, calling from her location overseas, demanded updates every few minutes. At the Spencer residence, Bill and Katie argued in hushed tones about what this meant for Will, for their family, and for the safety of their home. Katie's health concerns resurged as stress of Luna's potential return was enough to trigger her cardiac condition. Will, tormented by the knowledge that the woman he had once cared for was still alive and actively dangerous, struggled to process the reality of his situation. But perhaps most telling were the silences that fell across Los Angeles that night. The silent realization that security protocols would need to be reinstated. The silent fear that Luna, unshackled by the requirement to hide, might finally pursue the vengeance she had been planning. The silent understanding that the murders she had committed before Hollis, the man she believed was her father, had been the work of someone constrained by the need for secrecy. Now, with her cover blown, what would Luna do? The article had never been about solving a crime. It had always been about understanding what happens when a villain escapes death through deception. As the first hours of the new year ticked away, as Baker and his team worked through the evidence, as the families gathered in their respective safe spaces trying to process the impossible, everyone reached the same chilling conclusion. Luna's reign of terror wasn't over. It was just beginning its next chapter. And this chapter, written in the shadows of New Year's Eve and the first moments of a brand new year, promised to be far bloodier than anyone had anticipated. Next, if you've been following the latest drama unfolding at Forrester Creations, you're probably wondering how one of daytime television's most prestigious fashion empires could find itself in such a monumentally embarrassing predicament. Logan Trademark saw the currently playing out on The Bold and the Beautiful isn't just another family squabble, it's a masterclass in corporate negligence that would make any business school professor weep into their curriculum. Here's where things get truly fascinating. Carter Walton, the man who supposedly steers the legal ship at this billion-dollar operation, is currently engaged in what can only be described as a mad dash to the patent office. His competition, Liam Spencer. Yes, that Liam Spencer, the same man whose most notable business achievement involves looking pensively at the ocean while contemplating which woman he's hurt this week. The prize they're racing toward, trademarking the Logan name, a piece of intellectual property that should have been locked down tighter than Stephanie Forrester's jewelry vault decades ago. The question nobody's asking at Forrester Creations, while the entire Forrester family circles their wagons and prepares for battle against Katie Logan's audacious new fashion venture, they're conveniently ignoring the massive elephant that's currently redecorating their boardroom. Everyone from Ridge to Brooke is clutching their designer pearls over Katie's decision to name her fashion house Logan, treating it like some unprecedented act of corporate treason. But here's what makes this entire situation so deliciously ironic. Katie isn't stealing anything. She's simply picking up what Forrester Creations carelessly left lying on the ground. Think about the absurdity of this for just a moment. We're talking about a fashion empire that has dominated the Los Angeles haute couture scene for generations. This is a company that has weathered hostile takeovers orchestrated by everyone from Bill Spencer to Quinn Fuller. They've survived family coups that would make Shakespeare's tragedies look like light-hearted sitcoms. They've navigated scandals involving everything from formula theft to bedroom betrayals that span multiple decades. And yet, through all of this corporate chaos, nobody, not one single person in that supposedly sophisticated legal department, thought to secure trademark protection for a name that has been intrinsically linked to their brand identity. Since the Reagan administration, The belief formula, which literally saved Forrester Creations from financial ruin and catapulted them into international fame, wasn't named after some abstract concept or marketing buzzword. It was named after Brooke Logan Forrester, the brilliant chemist whose contributions to the company are immeasurable. The woman has been the face of their product line more times than anyone can count. Her image has graced magazine covers, promotional materials, and advertising campaigns that generated millions in revenue. The Logan family hasn't just been associated with Forrester Creations, they've been essential to its very DNA. Carter Walton's spectacular legal oversight. Let's talk about Carter Walton for a moment, shall we? This is a man who holds the title of Chief Operating Officer at a fashion house that pulls in revenue figures most companies can only fantasize about. He's also the company's primary legal counsel, a position that theoretically requires someone who can anticipate potential legal landmines before the company steps on them. His job description essentially boils down to one critical responsibility: protect the brand at all costs. So how exactly did we arrive at this point where Carter is frantically racing to trademark a name that should have been registered years before he even joined the company? The man presumably passed the California bar exam, which isn't exactly known for being a walk through Malibu Beach. He's negotiated contracts, handled mergers, and provided legal advice on countless business matters. Yet somehow, basic intellectual property protection, the kind of thing they teach on day one of Trademark Law 101, completely slipped through the cracks. What makes this even more entertainingly absurd is that Carter isn't just competing against some rival fashion house or corporate raider with unlimited resources. His opponent in this race is Liam Spencer, a man whose business acumen is so questionable that his own father had to essentially beg him to take an interest in Spencer Publications. Liam's professional achievements mostly consist of modeling, brooding dramatically near expensive automobiles, and making romantic decisions that would give relationship counselors nightmares for weeks. The fact that this man is neck and neck with an actual attorney in a legal proceeding tells you everything you need to know about how catastrophically Carter has dropped the ball. Here's an even more uncomfortable truth. Carter has been wearing approximately 17 different hats at Forrester Creations for years now. He's the coup, the legal counsel, the voice of reason during family meltdowns, the romantic interest in multiple storylines, and occasionally the only person in the building with functioning brain cells. But apparently, protecting the company's intellectual property portfolio was just one responsibility too many. It's the corporate equivalent of remembering to lock your front door before going on vacation. Basic, essential, and somehow completely overlooked. Ridge and Brooke's misdirected outrage. According to the latest spoilers making the rounds, Brooke, Ridge, and Carter are supposedly cooking up schemes to undermine Katie's new fashion venture. They're treating this situation like Katie has committed some unforgivable act of family betrayal, as if she somehow snuck into Forrester headquarters in the dead of night and made off with proprietary designs or company secrets. The outrage is palpable, the indignation is flowing freely, and the finger-pointing has reached Olympic-level intensity. But here's the conversation they should actually be having. Carter, how did you let this happen? Instead of staging corporate warfare against Katie Logan, maybe someone should be questioning why the company's legal department was apparently taking an extended nap while the trademark office remained blissfully unaware that Logan needed protection. Brooke should be demanding answers about why her own brand identity, built over decades of work and association with Forrester Creations, was never legally secured. Ridge Forrester, bless his artistically talented heart, is reportedly making arguments about how Logan is his personal pet name for his wife, as if emotional attachment and romantic nicknames hold any weight whatsoever in intellectual property court. Can you imagine that conversation in front of a judge? Your Honor, I call my wife Logan, therefore Katie can't use it for her fashion house. The judge would probably need a recess just to stop laughing. The reality that nobody at Forrester wants to acknowledge is that Katie isn't being sneaky, underhanded, or even particularly clever. She's simply utilizing a name that was legally available because Forrester Creations never bothered to claim it. That's not corporate espionage, that's basic business opportunity meeting spectacular corporate negligence. If you leave money sitting on the sidewalk, you can't be shocked when someone picks it up. Bill Spencer's perfect moment. Somewhere in the Spencer Publications executive suite, Dollar Bill Spencer is probably enjoying the finest scotch in his collection while watching this entire debacle unfold with the kind of satisfaction that only comes from watching your rivals self-destruct. The man gave his wife an entire fashion house as a wedding gift, which is admittedly excessive even by Los Angeles standards, but it's turning out to be the gift that keeps on giving. Bill has spent years trying to stick it to Rich Forrester through various business schemes, corporate takeovers, and the occasional romantic entanglement that went nowhere good for anyone involved. But he never could have engineered a scenario this perfect if he'd planned it for decades. Carter Walton, the supposedly brilliant legal mind at Forrester Creations, has essentially handed Bill the opportunity to watch his wife succeed using the very name that Forrester should have protected. It's like Christmas morning for someone who has beat Ridge written at the top of their bucket list. Katie gets to launch her fashion house under the Logan banner not because she exploited some legal loophole or engaged in corporate trickery, but because Forrester Creations was fundamentally sloppy with their intellectual property management. Bill doesn't even need to gloat, the situation speaks for itself. Every board meeting at Forrester where they discuss this trademark disaster is another victory for Bill Spencer, and he didn't have to lift a finger to make it happen. The trademark war that never should have existed. Let's be absolutely clear about something. A good Logan sister conflict is television gold. Watching Brooke, Katie, and Donna navigate their complicated relationships while dealing with romantic drama and family loyalty has provided some of the show's most compelling moments over the years. But this particular battle shouldn't be happening. Not because the drama isn't entertaining, but because it represents such a fundamental failure of corporate governance that it strains credibility. If Carter Walton had done his due diligence at literally any point during his tenure at Forrester Creations, or if any lawyer before him had possessed even basic competence in intellectual property law, Brooke would have actual legal grounds to stand on. Instead, she's reduced to making emotional arguments about family legacy and brand reputation while Katie walks away with the trademark rights fair and square. It's the legal equivalent of showing up to a chess match and realizing you forgot to bring your pieces. Carter is out here dispensing legal advice to the Forrester family when his advice 20 years ago should have been, we need to trademark the Logan name immediately, along with every other name, formula, and brand identifier associated with this company. That's not hindsight, that's basic legal protection that any competent corporate attorney implements as standard operating procedure. Forrester Creations supposedly has a design team that creates award-winning fashion, a public relations team that manages their carefully crafted image, and a legal team that was apparently sleepwalking through every trademark registration deadline for the past 3 decades. The company has invested millions in marketing campaigns, celebrity endorsements, and fashion shows that rival the Oscars in production value. But protecting the names that appear on all those products, that was apparently optional. Somewhere in the great beyond, Stephanie Forrester is absolutely rolling in her grave. The woman spent her entire life protecting the Forrester name and legacy with the intensity of a lioness guarding her cubs. She fought off rivals, managed family crises, and ensured that Forrester Creations remained a powerhouse in the fashion industry. If she could see the current trademark situation, she'd probably come back from the dead just to fire Carter herself and deliver a scathing lecture about corporate responsibility that would make grown men weep. The truth is, this entire Logan trademark war is a symptom of a much larger problem at Forrester Creations, the stunning lack of basic business competence masquerading as family drama. Katie isn't the villain in this story, she's simply the person who noticed that nobody was guarding the store. The real question everyone should be asking is, what other fundamental protections has Forrester Creations neglected while they were too busy managing romantic entanglements and family feud?